World leaders have condemned violent scenes in Washington after supporters of U.S. President Donald Trump stormed the Capitol building on Wednesday. The action forced the suspension of a joint session of Congress to certify Joe Biden's electoral victory. Many leaders called for peace and an orderly transition of power, describing what happened as horrifying and an attack on democracy. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson condemned the disgraceful scenes. The United States stands for democracy around the world, and it is now vital that there should be a peaceful and orderly transfer of power, he wrote on Twitter. Other UK politicians joined him in criticizing the violence, with opposition leader Sir Keir Starmer calling it a direct attack on democracy. Scotland's First Minister Nicola Sturgeon tweeted that the scenes from the US Capitol were utterly horrifying. Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez said, "I have trust in the strength of US democracy. The new presidency of Joe Biden will overcome this tense stage, uniting the American people." In a video on Twitter, French President Emmanuel Macron said, "When, in one of the world's oldest democracies, supporters of an outgoing president take up arms to challenge the legitimate results of an election, a universal idea, that of one person, one vote, is undermined." What happened today in Washington, D.C. is not American, definitely. We believe in the strength of our democracies. We believe in the strength of American democracy, he added. Swedish Prime Minister Stefan Löfven described the incident as worrying, and said it was an assault on democracy. German Foreign Minister Heiko Maas said Mr. Trump and his supporters must accept the decision of American voters at last and stop trampling on democracy. Top EU leaders have also made their views known. European Council President Charles Michel said he trusted the US to ensure a peaceful transfer of power to Mr. Biden, while European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said she looked forward to working with the Democrat, who won the election. The Secretary-General of the NATO military alliance, Jens Stoltenberg, joined the chorus of global figures saying that the outcome of the election must be respected. For his part, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres was saddened by the events at the US Capitol, his spokesman said. The events also shocked America's close ally and neighbor to its north. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau said Canadians were deeply disturbed and saddened by the attack on democracy. Violence will never succeed in overruling the will of the people. Democracy in the US must be upheld, and it will be, he wrote on Twitter. From New Zealand, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern tweeted that democracy, the right of people to exercise a vote, have their voice heard and then have that decision upheld peacefully, should never be undone by a mob. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Scott Morrison of Australia, another close US ally, condemned the distressing scenes and said he looked forward to a peaceful transfer of power. In India, the world's largest democracy, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has enjoyed a good relationship with President Trump, said he was distressed to see news about rioting and violence in Washington. Orderly and peaceful transfer of power must continue, he tweeted. Turkey, an ally through NATO, said it invited all parties to show restraint and common sense. The Venezuelan government, which the US does not recognize as legitimate, said, with this regrettable episode, the United States suffers the same thing that it has generated in other countries with its policies of aggression. In statements on Twitter, Argentina's President Alberto Fernandez and Chile's President Sebastián Pinera also condemned the scenes in Washington. Mr. Pinera said Chile trusts in the solidity of US democracy to guarantee the rule of law. In Japan, one of America's closely allies and partners, Chief Cabinet Secretary Katsunobu Kato said the government hoped for a peaceful transfer of power in the United States. From Fiji, Prime Minister Frank Bainimarama, who led a coup in 2006, also expressed outrage at the events that took place. And in Singapore, Senior Minister Teo Chee Hean said he had watched as the shocking scenes took place, adding, "It's a sad day."